Welcome in to the Mile High Hoops podcast. It's Shapiro and Piro talking all things Denver Nuggets. And this was supposed to be our season preview podcast. That will be on the next episode. So stay tuned for that because that's going to come. But we had massive news within the hour, and I had to get to it right away. The Denver Nuggets have given Christian Braun a 5-year, $125 million extension, according to Shams Charania of ESPN. This makes Braun part of the Nuggets core moving forward, means he won't be a restricted free agent after the year, and rewards a first-round pick who won a championship in his first year and has gotten better for the Nuggets every single year. And they don't have to play that game of, oh my God, what if he gets better and prices himself out? He is locked in. The Nuggets know they have the same starting lineup if they choose to have it for the next 2 seasons. Anilo, this is a massive deal.
Yeah, I actually just got finished filling out the little questionnaire you sent my way about like season expectations and previews and all that kind of stuff. And Christian Braun is a large reason as to why I think this Denver Nuggets team is loading up for what should be a very special season. And, you're always a little bit worried about, guys going into a year without, some solidified stuff with the contract and whatnot. I know CB didn't have to sign necessarily this offseason, but by getting a deal done now, I think not the Broncos, sorry, I'm still thinking about that game yesterday. The Nuggets are going to put themselves in a position to continue to grow as the cap moves and whatnot. And frankly, they just lock up an absolute core player for this team, as Jake alluded to, a consistent starter, a guy that I think has taken strides in each of his seasons, also a player that was a major contributor in that championship run. So I think this is a win-win deal for both sides.
Yeah, and I think the thing with Christian is he's gotten better in a bunch of different ways, right? It's not just, his athleticism, he's grown into being in the NBA. When you look at Christian, last year he had basically career highs in everything, including three-point shooting. He still has to up that attempt number, I think, a little bit to be a really, really great shooting guard, but he's a really good one right now. Shot 39.7% from three last year, shot 58% from the field, up 46% from his second year. Went from a guy who had started 10 games in his NBA career to 77 last year, proved he could be a valuable player in the playoffs. And all the while, he's improving his ball skills and his playmaking skills on offense. He turned into one of the best fast break players in the league last year, both in scoring and assisting. It helps that he was a guy often first out in transition because he was the point of attack defender for the Nuggets. And on that end, he went from a guy that we were talking about on this show in October and November as this guy cannot get around a screen. This guy is not the answer for the Nuggets point of attack. To by March and April, he was one of the best players in the NBA getting around screens and guarding guys one-on-one. It's not like he stopped Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or James Harden, but he was a big reason why the Nuggets were in those series and slowed James Harden and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, like, the thing that I personally love about Christian Braun and just the way that he plays is he's never satisfied. Like, he's, especially after Bruce Brown left after the championship season, that was his rookie season, I believe, for CB, right? When they won the chip.
So after his rookie season, Bruce Brown leaves.
Right.
Going into his sophomore year, AP, Michael Malone tried to turn Christian Braun into more of a backup point guard. He tried to take on some ball skills. I don't think Christian Braun's ever going to be like Monte Morris, but you can see the growth in his game in part because of those fast break skills.
Well, and I think to that point, like, the luxury the Nuggets have with the offseason that they had is you don't have to force Christian Braun into that role because you've got Bruce Brown, you've got Tim Hardaway Jr., two guys that can also handle the ball and play that backup guard position as well. Bruce can really play every position out there. And so I think, again, the thing that I love about Christian Braun is his willingness to continue to learn and get better. And I think, as I said earlier in the show, this is a guy that's leveled up each and every year. And obviously, it's not going to all come right away, but I think you've seen consistent growth from CB. And obviously what he brings to you on the defensive end, I think, is a major plus as well. And here's what I want to say as well, Jake, is I think some Nuggets fans, look at $125 million. That's a lot of money for a guy like Christian Braun. Well, NBA contracts are kind of like cookie cutters, right? Like, you kind of know what guys are expected to get. But I think this is a great contract for Denver, not just because of the player that he is, but he's only 24 years old. He'll turn 25 in the middle of April as well. So you're locking up a guy for his prime years after, he's already had a handful of seasons in the league where he showcased he can hang and ball out in this league. So I think Christian Braun is only going to get better and better over the course of this contract.
So the AAV is 25. The contract is likely not to start at 25 because the Nuggets are going to send this contract throughout the years, which means he might start this contract around $21 million. Let's say it's $21 million, $21.5 million. That's my math on it right now. So the contract would end in his last year where he's making about 29, 28. So next year, the player's making $21 million in the NBA. The exact closest contract of a guy making $21.5 million in the NBA, the 80th highest paid player in the NBA next year. Who do you think that is?
The 80? I would have no idea.
For next year. Exactly $20.5 million. $21.5 million, what CB is going to make.
It's crazy because it's not going to be like a huge name, I would think, right? Because these guys...
You'll know it.
Tell me.
Contavious Caldwell-Pope. That's the exact contract. Is $21.5 million.
Let's have that conversation. Would you rather have KCP, a guy that a lot of people, myself included, was upset that the Nuggets didn't pony up the money to keep him and run it back with that championship squad? Would you rather pay KCP that money or have Christian Braun at the dollar figure he's at now?
Given what Christian was and KCP was last year, I would say I'd rather have Christian Braun, but I think there was a world in which they probably could have kept KCP and traded him this offseason had they gone down that route. That's a whole rabbit hole. But point being is the Nuggets are paying Christian Braun in the ballpark of Kyle Kuzma, Josh Hart, KCP, Miles Bridges, and Cam Johnson. Those are the guys making between $19.9 and $23 million in the next year, not this coming season, but the next year when this contract will kick in for Christian Braun. And I think that's about fair. Yeah. I think Christian Braun is about that level of player. Obviously, Cam Johnson is worth more, but he's at that end of that contract. So is, a couple of these other players. But can Christian Braun be, a Josh Hart type of player? Yeah, like that's who we've seen for the Denver Nuggets. Obviously, a little bit different of a style. I'd like to see Christian add some more rebounding like Josh Hart has to his game. There's different things Christian Braun could add. But the thing with Christian is if he took the leap that he did from 2 years ago to last year, from last year to this year, so that's averaging 7 to 15. So if he added 7 more points per game to his total, that's 22.
Yeah.
As a really good defender. I'm not saying he's going to do this, but that would make him an all-star. He would legitimately be an all-star. So if he took the level of leap that he took last year, this year, he would be an all-star, which would price him out of the Nuggets entirely. This is the safest play, and he has deserved this extension. And the other way the Nuggets could have gone about this is not extending CB, playing this out in RFA, and the RFA deals this year in the offseason proved to be horrible for players. Mm-hmm. But there's more money on the market next year, so you could have ended up in this weird spot. Either way, Josh Giddey just got $25 million a year as an RFA. Josh Giddey or Christian Braun? Probably about the same.
Yeah.
I think I like Josh more as a player, but Christian is a better fit for the Nuggets.
100%.
So this is a fair deal. This is in line with what CB should be making. The problem is the Nuggets are going to be a second apron team next year unless they non-guarantee Jonas Valanciunas' contract and find a way to get Zeke Naji off the books and not pay Peyton Watson, who is also a restricted free agent.
Well, as you're talking there real quick, I'm reading Shams Charania's report online at ESPN.com, and he says the Nuggets, meanwhile, are not expected to reach a rookie extension with Peyton Watson ahead of the deadline, which is today. So keep that in mind as well.
So this, to me, was an either or, because I know the Nuggets were having conversations. It was either you were going to sign CB today or that wasn't going to happen and you were going to revert to signing Peyton. Another guy, this literally just broke right now, Atlanta Hawks all-defensive guard Dyson Daniels, 4 years, $100 million. Same type of extension, same situation as CB. So $25 million a year, averages 1 fewer point per game, but a far better defensive player. So again, right about where CB is, doesn't have the team accolades, but exactly what CB is making. But just to go back to where the Nuggets cap picture is next year, it basically becomes a situation where you have the starting 5, that we know is going to be the starting 5 this year, but the bench is going to look a lot different. Jonas Valanciunas is probably out. Zeke Naji, you're probably going to have to get rid of. Peyton Watson, you're probably not paying. Deron Holmes, Julian Strother, Jalen Pickett, those options will be picked up. Hunter Tyson's probably won't. Bruce Brown and Tim Hardaway Jr. are free agents. So the Nuggets will go into next offseason with a very limited picture going in towards the second apron with about 7 players under contract.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and I think that's why, and we'll talk about it in some further shows, so make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss any episodes. But it feels like the Nuggets with the offseason that they had this year, you mentioned Bruce, you mentioned Tim Hardaway Jr. and whatnot, like this is an all-in type of season for the Denver Nuggets. Now, let's say they don't win a championship this year. I know what Jake kind of just laid out as a bit perplexing in regards to the guys that they will have under contract, but I think that also adds to the value of getting this Christian Braun deal done now, so you know that you have another core member of your team locked up for the foreseeable future.
Well, and you don't have any chaos this year about Christian, right? I'm not saying Christian is a drama king. He's definitely not, but you don't have any of that negotiation going throughout the year. You don't have his agent reaching out to other people. Christian's eyes and heart are locked on Denver now. And he can't even be traded, I don't think, until like far out now. Like I think he's locked in through a big part of the season. So not that he would be traded, but the point being is you don't have to deal with any of that unsettling, any of the uncomfortableness that comes in a negotiation. And there are contracts the Nuggets have definitely given out too early in these extensions, whether it be Zeke Naji, whether it be overpromising Hunter Tyson, giving Michael Porter Jr. his extension when they did. They probably didn't have a gun to their head in those situations, so to speak. They kind of did in this situation. Christian Braun has earned this contract. Christian Braun's also not going to sink the team making $25 million a year. If he is exactly the player he is moving forward, he's overpaid a little bit, but he's still a valuable NBA player and a starting shooting guard in this league. If he was not signed today and you went with Peyton Watson for $12 to $15 million a year, that's a contract that could potentially sink your team. That would be a massive risk. Peyton could turn out to be as good as Christian Braun. I think that's definitely within the capabilities of what Peyton Watson is as a basketball player, but he hasn't been that yet. So this is the safer play from the Denver Nuggets, and I like them taking the safer approach, especially when we had an offseason where there's been a little bit of bubbling about Nikola Jokic's future. And we know that he's not going anywhere here in Denver. But Jokic did start the offseason by saying, I want more depth. They got more depth, and he has an established relationship with Christian Braun. And he had one with Michael Porter Jr. They got rid of one of them. So I think it's important to keep your star happy. And I think this is part of keeping Nikola Jokic happy. And this is going to keep Christian Braun happy, which in turn makes Nikola Jokic happy.
Yeah. And again, that's why I just think it's a complete win-win for both sides here, right? Christian Braun gets his money locked up, ready to go. And the Nuggets in exchange maintain a core player, a member of their core and whatnot. And on top of that as well, he's 24 years old. So you're getting absolute prime Christian Braun over the course of this deal. So I think you look at it, and the Michael Porter Jr. dynamic, I think, was a little bit different, right? Like that had kind of run its course and whatnot. Like you expect Christian Braun to continue to level up and continue to play better, take those strides that we've seen him take over these last handful of years. I'm looking forward to more tomahawk dunks from CB. I'm looking forward to him getting all pumped up with the crowd and whatnot. I mean, he is a guy that has really fit this Denver Nuggets culture, a hard worker, a tenacious defender, and a guy that has an unwavering desire to improve his game on a game in, game out basis and whatnot. So again, this is market value for Christian Braun, and good on the Nuggets for getting this deal done.
So we're going to talk about this in the next podcast, which I want everyone to listen to, about the Nuggets season as a whole. But I do think this takes a weight off the Nuggets' shoulders. This ends the offseason per se for Ben Tenzer and Jonathan Wallace. The big thing they did not get done was the Nikola Jokic extension. Everything else, business-wise, Peyton Watson, Cam Johnson still are extension eligible. That could happen today even. We're finding out that Peyton Watson is unlikely to happen today. What would you grade this Nuggets offseason as a whole, being remade and locking up Christian Braun for the long term?
It's an A. How could it be anything but an A? I mean, you could even go A+ if you want to, but the way that I see it is the Denver Nuggets have addressed every single need that they needed to this offseason, right? You ship out Michael Porter Jr., you bring in Cam Johnson, who I think is a more stable type of player that fits in with this Denver Nuggets team really well. You add depth in Bruce Brown and Tim Hardaway Jr., so you got some backup ball handlers, two guys that should hopefully be able to mitigate the disaster that has been the non-Jokic minutes for a long, long time. And maybe most importantly, you get Jonas Valanciunas, a guy that can still play in this league, still has some tread on the tires, and hopefully figure out that backup center position, which has also plagued the Denver Nuggets time and time again. And in regards and respect to the Nikola Jokic contract extension, him not signing one this offseason, it just seems like a mere formality at this point. Like Jokic himself came out and said, like, I don't want to play anywhere else but Denver, this, that, the other. By not signing the extension this offseason, he'll make himself more money when he signs the extension next year. So I think the way that I'm looking at it is, how could you find me a hole in this offseason for the Denver Nuggets? Ball handling, backup depth, backup center, and your superstar is happy, and now you add Christian Braun into the mix. I think it's a fantastic offseason for Denver.
I could find some holes in it, particularly with the perimeter defense, and more backup ball handling I think is needed. But this is obviously an A. And just to give you a sense of where everyone here at the Fan is at, your favorites, Zach Bai has this as an A-. This was before today even. Josh Dover already had it as an A+, and James Marilat also had it as an A+.
If James Marilat, let me say that again. If James Marilat is given out, you said an A+?
A+ from James Marilat.
An A+ from James Marilat. That tells you something.
Yeah. I mean, I'm inclined just to say A- just because the Jokic thing didn't get done, and I think that's the most important part of business.
But do you agree that that's formality?
I don't think anything's a formality until it's written in contract,
Fair.
but I do think that it's 99% likely to happen, and I'm not worried about it. But just having your star player locked up, your most important thing, that was the most important piece of business, and it didn't get done. But they did literally everything else and everything we clamored for. So I'm going to give it an A-. Like they had an awesome offseason, don't get me wrong. And I think this Christian Brown deal is earned and is the right deal. Again, a little worried about how this affects the Nuggets window moving forward, but I think we all know that the window is right now this year. So it doesn't really matter. And this is the best thing for this year.
It's a championship or bust season, folks.
And we're going to talk about that on the next Mile High Hoops podcast, literally titled Championship or Bust for the Denver Nuggets. Me and him right now are going to shoot that, but you'll see it in a little bit.